Tonight, families are grieving the loss of 5 people killed in a deadly crash on I-20.
One young woman is fighting for her life right now after losing her mother, father, brother, and grandfather in that crash.
Yeah, WFAA just obtained a newly released police affidavit that reveals new details about what happened.
4 hearses left the Dallas County Medical Examiner's office carrying the McKellar family to a funeral home in Fort Worth. Jabbar McKellar, his wife Krishan, their son Kason, and Jabbar's father Billy, all killed in the crash. The only survivor in the vehicle, Evan McKellar, lost a foot in the crash and remains in critical condition. A GoFundMe account is now open to help the family with expenses.
Investigators say it started when a semi plowed into the McKellar's pickup truck going 75 miles an hour. There was no sign the driver ever hit the brakes. Another woman named Nicole Gregory was killed when the semi jackknifed and crushed her car.
Police now say the truck driver admitted he fell asleep at the wheel.
Tonight, senior investigative reporter Tanya Iser looks at the trucking company he worked for and listens to a former driver's disturbing allegations.
My heart just kind of dropped, like, man, that a week ago, like a week, 2 weeks ago, that could have been me.
You're hearing from a trucker who drove for Hope Trans, the same company whose truck was involved in a crash Saturday that killed 5 people in Terrell. Court records say the driver in that deadly wreck told police he fell asleep behind the wheel. The truck driver we spoke to, who asked us to conceal his identity, says he's not surprised, given what he experienced.
There was just so many red flags.
The truck driver provided us a copy of his employment agreement and showed us messages with company dispatchers, including records from a run he took last month from Atlanta to Phoenix.
They pressured me into this load.
By law, truckers can't drive more than 11 hours a day, then they must take a 10-hour break. The 1,900-mile trip normally takes 27 hours of driving. He says he did it in 34 hours.
I next day shipped it from Atlanta all the way to Phoenix off of 3 hours of sleep.
Here's the contract for that load, known as the bill of lading. It shows the departure date was backdated as well, from June 9th to June 8th.
I could have quit. I could have said no. I was one paycheck loss away from my wife and kids losing our house.
The trucker also provided us this message instructing drivers to hide any original paperwork.
This is coercion. They're coercing this guy to do something that everybody from the company safety folks to the entire industry knows what they're doing is illegal.
Dale Prax owns Freight Validate, a company that tracks fraud and identity theft in trucking. Federal records show that Hope Trans drivers were repeatedly cited for driving beyond the 11-hour driving limit.
They just acted like they didn't know how to dispatch within the law.
We also learned Hope Trans had listed a Tacoma address in federal records, but that address, a co-working space. When our sister station showed up Tuesday, the staff said the company only got mail there. They didn't actually work there. Here's why that's important. When a trucking company registers with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, or FMCSA, it's required to list a principal place of business. That means a real physical address, not just a mailbox or a P.O. box. It's supposed to be where driver and safety records are kept, and where federal inspectors can show up unannounced to check those records.
If I was an investigator and I went to look at those records, within 24 hours of the accident, where would I find them?
But 2 days after the deadly crash, federal records show the company's address suddenly changed. Gone was the Washington state address, replaced by an apartment in Orlando.
Why do they have that address in Washington in a virtual office in the first place?
Back in May, WFA uncovered trucking companies violating those rules, including 20 companies registered to this virtual mailbox on West Commerce Street in Dallas. So they wouldn't actually be physically here?
No, they would not be working here physically, no.
We also found nearly 700 companies tied to this single address in Signal Hill, California. And get this, roughly 500 of them list the same email, WTFFMCSA@AOL.com.
We're finding that a huge percentage of the bad guys list a virtual office address because they don't want to be tracked. They don't want to be found.
We reached out to the CEO of Hope Trans, Ashat Magomedova, multiple times by phone and email. She did not respond.
If you were describing this company to somebody that might be thinking about going to go work for them, what would you tell them?
I would tell them stay far away. Companies like this, it's a very big problem. There's probably thousands and thousands of trucks just like these people on the road that have not gotten any sleep. and it's hard to put a stop to it.
We reached out to federal regulators and they said they're working on it. On Tuesday, Governor Greg Abbott tweeted out our story from Monday and said he's asked the Texas Department of Public Safety to expand its investigation. In Dallas, I'm Tanya Iser.
Wow.
Well, if you're a truck driver or have ever driven for Hope Trans in the past, our Investigates team wants to hear from you. You can email them at investigates@wfaa.com.
Authorities have now revealed that they are investigating the trucking company that the driver of that 18-wheeler, who is suspected of causing the wreck, worked for. Our JD Miles with that new information.
The driver of the 18-wheeler who plowed into passenger vehicles, causing a chain reaction crash along I-20, is facing 5 counts of manslaughter and likely 1 more after today's death of the 6th victim. Tonight, the investigation focuses on whether drowsy driving was the cause and whether a checkpoint along the highway could have detected it had it been manned at the time. We now know the name of the trucking company that Alexis Osmani Gonzalez Campagnoni was working for when authorities say the 27-year-old commercial truck driver plowed through vehicles that had slowed down for an accident on I-20 in Kaufman County. The Texas Department of Public Safety says the driver, who authorities say fell asleep at the wheel and killed 6 people in other vehicles, worked for Hope Trans LLC, which did not respond to our request for comment. The collision on Saturday afternoon crushed a pickup truck that left all 5 people inside dead and also killed the driver of a compact SUV.
You got a vehicle this size going 65 plus miles an hour, and there's something you need to take seriously as a driver.
Chris Goldsby is a 30-year commercial big rig driver who lives in Lancaster. He says drowsy driving continues to be a problem in his profession, despite measures in place to prevent it.
Yeah, at any given time, we all feel tired, and then I have to say this, that we have a time frame in which we can do things. We have login regulations that we have to go by. We have a 14-hour day, in which 11 of those hours we can drive. The other 3 hours, we might be spent working either on the dock or what have you.
Research from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration found that every year there are about 100,000 police-reported crashes involving drowsy driving. Just a few miles before Campagnoni crashed on I-20, he passed a state commercial vehicle inspection station where authorities can inspect driver logbooks for evidence of overdriving. But the station was closed. The National Transportation Safety Board announced tonight that it will lead the investigation into this horrible crash. Campagnoni remains in the Kaufman County Jail with a $1.5 million bond.
This is amazing. I'm not a truck driver. I don't hold a CDL license. This is not in my world, I guess, truck driving personally. I am from West Texas, live here in the Dallas area, the Rock Wall area. So this hits pretty close. Where this took place, it was very close, and my heart goes out to the family that are affected by this tragedy. My prayers and my thoughts are definitely with y'all. This is a sad thing that shouldn't have happened. Could have been prevented, absolutely. These are, whose fault is it? I don't know. Is it the company Hope Trans? Is it Mr. Campione? Is it everybody that, is it both the company and the driver? I think so. I don't know if it's easier to get a CDL. Are they giving out CDL license? Now, my dad, brother, friends, we're all they're oil field, and they all have their CDLs. They all drive for oil field companies, but they've all never been in an accident. They attained their CDL legally. Now, I've heard a lot of stories that you could get your CDL license illegally, if you know what I'm talking about. And I think there's where the problem is. But with Trump being our current president, I think he's putting a stop to a lot of these fraud CDL license companies, brokers. Like I said, I don't know much about this, but I'm just kind of going by what I hear out there in the social media. This is something that shouldn't happen, shouldn't have happened. And of course, they're still investigating. They're checking his logs and see if he even rested. Was it that he was tired and fatigued? What caused it, or was he under the influence? Um, does he really have a CDL license that is legal? That's legal. Just put it that way. I don't know. If you're out there and you're a truck driver, professional truck driver, let me know in the comments. What do you think? What about this Hopes Trans LLC? Like, how many of these companies are around? There's got to be tons of those companies. How did this Campione even get on with this company? You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's hard to even try to, if they don't have a physical address, how did this guy start working for him? So I'm going to say Hope Trans is not a legit company. Now I hope they find whoever started this company and they actually they gotta be accountable. The people who did this, this guy's definitely has to be accountable. Investigation said that there was no signs of breakage, of slow down, none at all, not at all. Is he going to prison? He's going to prison for sure. And with the current administration, not only is he putting a lot of uh, regulations, and I know that we don't like government to butt into our business, but something like this, I think, I think we need to take those drivers that are not competent to drive, those drivers that are illegally driving on our highways. I think it's time that we put them, that we shut them down. I know that it's hard even for truck drivers to find a parking space or a truck stop so they can rest and sleep because they're just so full to capacity that sometimes you gotta pass 2, 3 truck stops. I'm just kind of thinking scenarios in my head. So therefore you can't rest. So therefore now you're going over your driving time to try to find the next spot to take a break. And you can't because there's so many drivers out on the road. I think this business has been saturated for, I don't know. I'm just gonna guess about 15, 20 years maybe. I don't know. I may be wrong. You guys that are in the industry, let me know in the comments. Um, Now with the English language proficiency uh deal that's going on that was implemented actually last week, June the 25th, if I'm not mistaken. That's a great thing. That's an awesome thing because now if you can't speak English, if you can't read English proficiently, that's even a word. Let me learn my English, right? You're stopped. You're done. You can't you can't roll. And I think this is going to take a lot of people off the trucks and put the Americans that actually have a legal CDL, give them more rolling time, if you will. You know, and maybe the demand for truck drivers, will go up, which in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, if there's not enough truck drivers, then we'll pay more for truck drivers. So that might make the industry better for trucking all in itself. But this is sad. My heart goes out to the families, friends that were affected by this. And it's time that we get drivers like this off the road, man. Quick. And it's changing. It's changing. God bless you guys that are out there in the road, over the road, regional, just truck drivers, all in general. If you're not allowed to be out there, don't be out there. Um, Everybody else is doing it right. You know, God bless y'all. God bless your family. Stay safe out there. But truck drivers, let me know in the comments, what do you think about what's going on with the trucking industry? Is it getting better? Do you think it's getting worse? That's what I really want to know. Thank you guys for watching this video. Love you. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.